Anyway, all right, everybody, welcome to Coach Parker Watt. Great to have you in again, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time to inform some people with some good insights. We're just going to start right away here. I got the first question. People have already figured out that I'm making these names up, but I stole this one from.
I was wondering about that.
I've stole this one from Impractical Jokers. It was one of my fake names. You ever seen those when they have to announce a fake name to a waiting room and people get suspicious? You ever seen the Impractical Jokers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite ones. They can't laugh when they say it. But anyway, this question's coming in from Aunt Tim. Let's get to the elephant in the room, dude. What's it like going 934 at KONA and get 84th in your age group? How's that feel to you?
Yeah, KONA was such an awesome experience. Just really grateful to have had the opportunity to be there, and yeah, I mean it's definitely next level. It's I don't usually get too nervous before races, but I was I was pretty nervous for this one, so just tried to go into it and remind myself throughout the day where I was, and so yeah, it was just great experience all around.
Yeah, but still, it's a little humbling, I got to think, man.
For sure. Yeah.
Just come on. All right, well, I'm going to skip right into the second one because you mentioned something about getting nervous a little bit, but this one was from George Rogan. Do you feel a lot of pressure knowing that in most races you're sort of expected to be the first one out of the water? And I don't know if that was necessarily true out there, but just in general, as a guy who's not, a good swimmer, whatever, it kind of feels like pressury to think about. But you probably never think about it, or does it give you any pressure? I mean, you're such a good swimmer that obviously, I don't know. Just trying to get.
Not really. I tend, aside again from Kona being a little bit nervous there, but generally, I feel like I'm pretty laid back, and especially before the swim, just with my swim background, I don't feel a whole lot of pressure to kind of before getting in the water. So just try to stay relaxed as possible, and whatever happens kind of in the swim. So just try to swim strong, relaxed, and as straight as possible, and usually that works out pretty well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're probably more like, I guess that was the question that George had, was that were you you feel like you're getting in that water to compete hard in the swim, or are you just doing your own thing and just taking what comes?
Just kind of doing my own thing. I try not to let other people. It's nice to have kind of to swim with other people, but I also don't necessarily stress about that if I don't have someone to kind of draft off of. And yeah, just kind of try to do my own thing and swim as straight as possible.
Speaking of, you started in the first group, right? Age group?
It was a second. They had the kind of younger guys, like
okay.
under 24s, go off first, and then I went behind them.
Okay. So did you find yourself out there with a group separated in that race?
Yeah, I actually, this is pretty interesting because a lot of, you get a lot of people that swim under an hour there. So right off the bat, you're kind of with the mass age group start. It's kind of the washing machine, and you're fighting for space. So that was something that not entirely used to with the rolling start. So it's definitely kind of a different experience with that. But I guess the plus side of that is I was able to find kind of feet to draft off of. So that was kind of a positive from that.
Yeah. That's what one of my buddies said in KONA. He's like, what happens, and all of a sudden you have a lot of people that are as fast as you, and you're not used to that necessarily in some of the other races. Yeah. Speaking of, let's go to Micky Kramer, and He asks, what is the one thing that you can tell an adult onset swimmer to focus on most to get better? Keep talking. I'll be right back. I'm not leaving.
Yeah, so I would say consistency is a huge thing, and kind of the right mix of, I think it's important to work on technique, but also have kind of I would say balancing the appropriate workout. So yes, technique's important, but also kind of the, speed work essentially, I think is really important, endurance slash strength work. So I know that's kind of a bunch of things, but I would say
That's not
the right balance of workouts and the consistency of them, I think is kind of the general theme of that, and what over a long period of time will kind of lead to improvements there.
okay. I like that. So we're going to take the right balance of a lot of different things is the one thing. Fair enough. All right, man. Hank Brown, what is your favorite race ever and why? Did it just
I feel like
happen?
I have a couple.
Okay.
I love St. George 70.3.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one that comes to mind. It's just a really tough, honest course, beautiful scenery. And, it can be frustrating because it's a tough race to get right, but I think it's really rewarding when you do get that race right, just because it is so tough. So that's a favorite. And then I'll go for full distance. It's got to be Wisconsin. I love that race so much. So I'd say a tie between those two. And Wisconsin was my first full. Been back there a bunch of times. Just great spectator support, and I feel like I really feed off of that energy and really like that aspect of that race. So those are the two that kind of come to mind.
All right, I'll take it. I will take it. Let's see. Here we go from Phil Day. What do you think is the most important thing about your background that translates into Ironman success?
Yeah, so I would say, I think just with swimming in general, growing up, swimming in high school, we would swim 3-4 hours a day. So that's, some days that would get up to, 10,000 yards. And I think just the understanding the kind of full process of that, and then translating that over to kind of the, of kind of building throughout the season and just being consistent with things, has kind of made me really appreciate, the full process of training for a full. So, if you're starting a full year out, it can feel, really far out there. But just enjoying the process and seeing those kind of small glimpses of improvement along the way, I think is super rewarding. And I think that's something that I took from kind of high school swimming. You kind of have to have the same approach to that, when you're in the pool day in, day out for 3 hours, and just kind of focusing on those signs of improvement throughout the season. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've been kind of taken from that.
I was kind of hoping you'd say that, because we've talked about it on the podcast 100 times, and I've always tried to reiterate this. It's like, yeah, I know you guys want to get better at swimming when you're 50, but guys like you and girls like you that went into swimming early, and you just said it kind of casually. Yeah, we'd sometimes swim 3 hours a day. And you're swimming at the point in your life when your body can be learn it better as a child. So you've just ingrained that so deep, but not only the work, but the process of it, and the ability to, if I came to you and say, hey, we're going to do a 3-hour swim right now, you'd be like, okay. But other people would just say, what? Are you insane? So I just think that right there is the essence of understanding and knowing what it takes to really be good at Ironman. You just, like yesterday I was saying, it's not like a sprint out there. You have to understand what you got to go through to get there. And it's not really about always, crushing it. It's just about the ability to understand the distance and the process that takes to get there strong. So thanks for adding that, man.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your 10,000 yards a day. All right. Kev Madden, what would you have athletes focus on most to become a faster runner?
Yeah, this is something that for me is kind of taken a while. So kind of after I graduated from school, was trying to get back into, kind of get back into things. Knew that I wanted to get into triathlon and wanted to pick up kind of one of the, I had the swim background, but wanted to kind of pick up running before I dove into triathlon. So it was definitely a long process of kind of building up from no run background at all to, training for a 5K, training for a 10K, and then just kind of getting longer and longer. And I spent probably a few years of really just focusing on running, of doing that. So it's definitely not something that happens, quick. I definitely don't do a lot of, speed work. It's consistency week in and week out, year after year. And again, that kind of goes back to the whole process thing. You kind of have to enjoy the process and understand that it's kind of a long-term thing. So, I think frequency is really important. Being able to stay healthy and uninjured. That was kind of a big thing when I first got into running, having the engine, but not having kind of the strength to be able to, kind of sustain the pounding of running. So consistency over long periods of time. And again, it doesn't have to be, getting to the track and destroying yourself. It's lots of aerobic runs and kind of gradually increasing the load.
Yeah. As you think about running, in volume, and we talk about sort of, I guess, aerobic running, how focused on that zone 2, threshold because I think a lot of times people get into sloggy mode a lot. Are you really kind of thinking about that when you're running? Even if it's just an easy run, are you wanting to be, at least solid zone 2, rather than just kind of, slapping along and trying to go a long ways?
Right. Yeah. And I think the past couple of years I've, talked about kind of going more based off of feel. And I find myself doing that more and more often, but definitely I'm still checking in with kind of the, with heart rate numbers, just to kind of make sure I'm in the right place. And, sometimes it is a little low, or sometimes it can be too high. So kind of, especially early on, making those adjustments, just kind of based on how things are going that day. I think that's still important.
Mm-hmm. And do you have this, heart rate, because sometimes my heart rate will be theoretically too high, but my breathing is just absolutely perfect.
Yep.
You go through these things. Do you pay attention to breathing? Is breathing one of your metrics as far as feel goes? Because sometimes I'm like, a lot of people, this doesn't feel hard, but my heart rate is showing that it might be harder than it is.
Yeah, I've definitely had those days too, where it's like, well, like I feel like I'm barely breathing, not kind of, or maybe even like breathing through my nose, but heart rate super high. So, yeah, sometimes that can be, it could be something like maybe sickness coming on, or just kind of a fluke one-off day, or something like that. So I might give myself some leeway with that if I'm like, I feel relaxed. I don't feel like I'm pushing it. Maybe my heart rate's a little high, but kind of try to give myself some leeway there to not be so strict with that.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. So as you go into the off season, or you're in the off season, Where will you try to make improvements this off season, and how are you going to go about it? Bev Krietchler. Bev's a big fan of the show.
Yeah, so I think for me, biking's kind of the big thing that I always go back to in terms of areas for improvement. So yeah, I think it's a lot of it's muscular endurance, and so that's something that I always kind of want to focus in on. So it goes back to lots of big gear work. I tend to be, and I think I was watching Glenn's interview and kind of talking about high cadence, low cadence. So definitely do a lot of like big gear work and low cadence, but I tend to run pretty high cadence wise consistently, like a lot of times 90 plus in races. So I think that's one of the things going into the off season, almost trying to slow myself down, and even just during long rides, bringing that lower just to kind of emphasize the kind of more muscular endurance aspect of things, because I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I can work on going into next season.
So you want to work on that in training, but still keep your natural cadence in a race, or are you trying to practice slowing down a little bit?
Yeah, I think it would probably end up maybe somewhere in between. Maybe trying to go kind of almost overcorrect in a way in training, and then maybe find kind of a middle ground to where I would that's kind of more comfortable for me. This would be kind of my approach to it.
Yeah. I mean, I always find it interesting because, like, say you are 90 naturally or in a race, and if you can, it's like I always tell people when I go and try and negative split an hour run, if I can negative split by 5 seconds, that's really good to me because especially if it's just an easy run or a normal run. But if you can bring your race cadence down to say 80, 87, 88 and not lose your speed, but sort of keep everything in place, but with how much does that save? And you never know, I guess, but it seems like it would make sense.
Yeah.
Just like little things like that. Because I think everyone's natural tendency is to make a dramatic change, but it's just like I like what you said about aiming low and then ending up in the middle.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I think it has to be very, very gradual, and but yeah, I think that's kind of an opportunity area for me, and that it kind of goes back to the like heart rate versus muscular fatigue kind of balance, and maybe there's opportunity there with kind of lowering cadence. So yeah, just kind of one of the big things I've been thinking about.
Yeah, it's endless. Let's see. Chen Chelmusky, Brad's cousin. What kinds of things do you do to cross train for triathlon, if anything?
Yeah, so I mean, since moving to Austin, haven't quite explored too much. Definitely when I was up in Salt Lake, still running, but doing more trail running, kind of being like right at the base of the mountains. I thought, kind of get the benefit of it being kind of almost a strength workout, and just not having to worry about pace and being in a beautiful place. I think that was I loved having living there to be able to take advantage of that. So definitely say trail running. I used to also do a lot of hiking there too. Not really any mountains here in Austin, so I'll have to find something else. But those are kind of my two main go-to things in the off season, to kind of do a little bit of cross training.
Sounds good. Ty Fox, how much do you work on your core strength, and what kind of things do you do? Is that a big part of your regiment?
It should be.
Okay.
That should be another thing, kind of another goal for this off season to work on. I would say I definitely do some. I would say this time of year, I'm not, especially with, just having raced a month ago and kind of starting to ease back into training. I'm not really too focused on strength stuff right now, but certainly, kind of the next couple of months, we'll want to start working that in. I would say probably 1 to 2 times a week I would do, and it might not be course specific, but it might have kind of elements that help kind of work on core strength too. So things like that, and kind of like hip mobility type or hip strength kind of type workouts. So yeah, once I get kind of more into the season, it would be maybe 1 to 2 times a week, and those would be kind of the things that I would work on.
All right. And last question, simple one, but what are you thinking about? You have any bucket list stuff you're thinking about right now?
Just like in general, life stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I love to travel. So I do, as much of that as I can, and love to get down to Patagonia and hike and that kind of stuff down there. So that's kind of like my big bucket list trip, I would say, that I've always kind of had in the back of my mind. So
yeah, well, I mean, that doesn't seem too far-fetched.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
I know. Need to build up my vacation time. So
yeah.
But yeah, that would that'd be pretty awesome. And yeah, I think it takes quite a while to get down there. It's like a full day plus of travel. So
okay. Yeah.
Got to figure that in.
All right, man. Well, all right. That'll wrap it up. 10 questions here. And we're going to keep doing something like this or similar variations of this as we go to get to learn more about you and get some more insight from you. So I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, have an awesome day in Austin. And have you been out to the mothership yet, the comedy place?
I haven't. No, it's on the list.
Okay. Okay. There it is. All right, man. I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks again.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep.